Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Conner Rueca Show. Thank you for being here with us. You guys already know, if you guys are watching this, you guys are watching an episode with brilliant, high quality operators in the space. Sometimes we're bringing on clients here that use closer control and our AI tools. Sometimes we're just bringing other service people that are helping real estate wholesalers and direct to seller investors. Sometimes we just bring other operators who are running big businesses and educators. And guys, that's what me and my brothers, that's what we want to promise you guys is every single time you guys see me on a video with another operator, you can be confident that this guy is the real deal and he's worth listening to. So guys, we're going to jump into today, skip the fluff and just get into just like getting to know who Fidel is. Fidel Guajardo is our guest today. We're going to have him intro himself and then we're just going to jump into questions because I've only had a few conversations with Fidel before this and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to throw this guy up here because I need to learn myself and I want you guys to be learning at the same time while I be selfish with his time. But Fidel, you are in a unique position because you actually run a real estate acquisitions and dispo business, but also you share your knowledge and experience through an education standpoint. So before I ask my first question, please introduce yourself and tell the listeners who they'll be learning from today.
Cool. Well, thanks for the intro, Conner. My name is Fidel. I live in South Texas. Been wholesaling for the last 5 years. I probably paid every coach and mentor over the sun over the last couple of years. So we do run our own wholesaling business, but a lot of the things that I have shifted within my business in the wholesaling space is how much is the net, right? Because a lot of people get into the revenue and all of that. So everything that we do today is, okay, what is the net? And how can we simplify the business the best way where we focus on, okay, how do we get high quality leads? How do we do the sales process? And how do we reverse engineer the business for it to spit out the profits that we actually want? So that's my whole focus when it comes to my wholesaling business. And then on the education side, we want to convey like all the lessons that I've learned from all the coaches, making mistakes, losing a ton of money on flips, and then just simplifying the business for wholesalers and helping them scale the right way with inbound and our systems. And that's pretty much like all we do, man.
I know what net is, but for those who don't know what like net means, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, so we basically help wholesalers adopt their own inbound marketing channel instead of relying on an agency or a pay-per-lead company or have to do the traditional outbound methods like cold calling or SMS blasting. Because if you learn how to run your own ads, the big misconception is that people think that it takes a long time to learn, but all you need is like 1 to 2 hours a week. And it is the best use of your time because the better that you get at this, the cheaper that your cost per lead is going to be. You have way more input when it comes to the quality that you're looking for. And then the conversations with the sellers become way easier. So if you are doing your backyard or maybe you're doing nationwide, Facebook is the only platform where you can actually pinpoint and, kind of call out the motivation, right? Like divorce, inheritance, foreclosure. So we do a ton of those ads and then the leads come in hot and ready to sell. And then you just put them on the contract and sell them. And that's what I mean by simplifying the business as much as we can.
That's super interesting. I wholesaled for 4 years and we did run Google PPC. It was an agency, wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be, but our most successful marketing channel was outbound, cold calling specifically. We got up to 8 cold callers. We were honestly printing and we kind of, we can talk about this later, but we went from 8 cold callers to all in on Google PPC in 2 months. So like we went from 8 to 0 cold callers, all in on PPC. Extremely stupid, but this kind of relates to what you're saying because you're saying like running your own meta ads is where your time is best spent. And I'm starting to like compare like when we were running a cold calling team, there was a lot of training that needed to take place. There was a lot of hiring that needed to take place, a lot of tracking of KPIs, make sure the culture is there, make sure there's no drama. All these guys are Filipinos, they're all men, they're young guys, they're competitive. And I'm starting to think like, okay, we definitely spend more than 1 to 2 hours a week on that marketing channel, like you're saying for Meta. So what was the point, or at what point did you realize like running your own ads was different than all the other marketing channels?
Yeah, so that's what I mean by simplifying the business. If you look fundamentally at wholesaling, like what do? We talk to people who are going through some sort of financial distress or like pain point, right? And then we solve a problem and that is how we get paid. So when it comes to the outbound methods is you don't have a whole lot of leverage. Now, I know some people that crush with cold calling, But the thing with that is you got to be really good at sales. But if we can strip down the business and it's like, okay, what can we focus on that is going to give us the most amount of leads that are motivated in order for us to get deals? That's why I love inbound. And the reason why I wanted to learn it was because in Q4 of 2024, during the elections, I had like 25 properties that were listed and nothing was selling. And it kind of made me reflect back. And I already had done like PPC. I had an agency running my ads. I'd done direct mail and all the channels. But, I always have this book behind me, Alex Hermosi's $100 million Leads book, where he talks about when he learned how to run Facebook ads, his business completely changed. So kind of going through that period and kind of experiencing like, okay, like nothing is selling, I'm making revenue, but I'm not keeping a lot of the money. And then just looking at what agencies kind of were doing with my ads. Anytime I would see the ads, I thought like, hey, I can make this ad even better. So that's pretty much what sparked it. And then I actually flew to the workshop in Vegas. And then I met with their team and then I asked them a ton of questions. And then since then we implemented in the business. And then we went from paying like $5,000 cost per deal in 2022 to 2024, the way down to $1,500 now with Meta ads. And, we close 5 to 10 deals a month. We spend $5,000 to $10,000 a month on Facebook. The time that you actually invest in learning it, the return you're going to get on that is going to be significant because now your cost per lead is cheaper, but your cost per contract is also cheaper. Therefore, you don't need to spend more money on marketing to get the deals, and you get to save, over 50%. We were saving 50% of what we were spending before, and now it's way more like simple. And then since what I teach is like, hey, you can be the one in the ad or you can use AI or static images. But if you are doing your backyard and it's you in the ad, the sellers trust you way more. Like you have way more proof. And then the way that we position the ads is we are calling up those pain points. But then the way that our ads are kind of served to the people, we educate them into like who we are, who we have helped, right? Like a ton of testimonials. So by the time that my team reaches out, they know exactly who we are, what to expect, common objections, where if there's like another wholesaler, it's like, oh, it's like a nobody because we have so much social proof. And that's why I'm a huge proponent for people who are doing marketing to adopt this because it takes 1 to 2 hours a week. And once you learn it, like I said, the results are going to be significant better than what you're doing right now.
So your program, you don't just run, do you run the ads for your for your teams, or are you actually coaching them to like, this is what you're going to do. This is implementation. This is the type of video, execute.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's done with you. So you still get kind of like agency sort of like service, but you're actually learning the skill. So the whole thing for me is like, after implementing this in my business completely changed, for the better, or else I probably would have quit real estate altogether. So I can relate to a lot of my fellow wholesalers where they get stuck in the idea that getting a 3 to 4x return is okay, but we work way too hard not to net more money, right? So since it changed my business, I want to help the other wholesalers implement the same thing and have the same feeling and enjoy the business where you can travel and do all the things. And then you put the hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours a week when it comes to training the team. It depends if you have a team or not. But I want them to enjoy the business where, hey, you can actually net more money by focusing on marketing and sales. That is kind of like my whole goal, for them to actually learn their skills, not just like the marketing, but how to track the numbers, how to do the sales process and have tangible weekly goals that we need to measure and track. Therefore, if something is off, we know exactly what is going on and how to fix it. So that's kind of the whole goal with the program. So we have one where we teach them just like Facebook side on the Facebook side. And then if they want to scale to $50,000, $100,000 per month by keeping as much net as possible, we have one-on-one. It's with me. We build a plan, sales process, dispo, marketing, everything.
That is so cool. So you're saying that someone who's like running their own ads, they probably need to spend maybe 1 to 2, maybe a few more hours per week on it. Are you saying that that's what agencies do for their clients? They're only spending that same amount of time, or spending more or less?
I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I do know a lot of agencies will have a media buyer that's in charge of the client's accounts. And I'm not saying you're going to get bad results, but I think that with an agency, you can get a 6 to 7 out of 10 experience because no one's going to care as much as you will. And when you know exactly like what is going on, how's the lead quality, the cost per lead, what you need to change, what you need to, kind of do. Therefore, like the results that you get on you getting the context and the knowledge is going to be significant better. I don't know how agencies run it, but it's not as complex as people make it seem. And I feel like a lot of PPD providers and agencies, they have been lying to us as wholesalers where they don't think we're smart enough to learn it. But to give my fellow wholesalers grace, they're smarter than they think, and they can learn anything in 3 to 4 hours. Now, you won't become an expert unless you put in the time and learn it, but know that you can actually learn how to do this on your own.
That's amazing. Wow, I really like that offer. I don't know that many offers out there, and I know a lot of people in the game in terms of like marketing, stuff like that, who are doing that. And I think that's really impactful. When would you say is like a good time for someone to even like consider paid ads? Are you a advocate like people can like they haven't even done a deal, they could jump into paid ads, or do you think they need some traction or something?
Yeah, they need some traction. I usually don't work with anyone that's brand new because they have to go through that pain of wholesaling where you don't know what the heck you're doing. You have no systems, no process, right? So the people that we often help is people who already have done deals or they have a marketing budget of at least $3,000 a month. And then we will shift some of that budget into paid ads and then refine the sales process, the numbers, the KPI, so they know exactly, what they need to do. Because like if someone hires me, like my job is to help them make more money, whatever their goal is, whether that's 50K a month, 100K a month, that is what they're paying for. But when it comes to new people, I don't usually take on new people. I took on a guy like he's a friend of mine, but he's a business owner. So he's way more, mature and putting in the time. And in 6 weeks, bro, he got 4 deals, like brand new to real estate, and he's crushing. So that'll be kind of like the only way I take someone that's new is maybe they have like a really good high paying sales job where they understand how everything works. But someone who has never made like good money, brand new, I wouldn't take them on. I think they can learn it like on their own, but I wouldn't take them on.
You think meta ads is like the elite of marketing channels? There's another step above that.
The way that I like to think about it is all of us are on social media, right? We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook. So our sellers, they are also on social media. We just need a way of captivating them and getting them into our ecosystem. So how do we do that? I always talk about doing pain-based ads where we're talking about potential problems that they may have, right? Divorce, inheritance, problem property. The reason why I love Facebook is because it's intrusive marketing, meaning your ad is going to come up to whoever the platform thinks they're going to respond to, right? So if we're focusing on pain-based ads, you're interrupting their feed, right? So if the ad is really good and they can relate to the ad, you can get a high quality lead for cheap, maybe 50%, 75% off that it will cost you on Google PPC before they even search for sell my house fast for cash. Because the way that we think about it is like, okay, it's a funnel. It's an awareness funnel. You have people at the top of the funnel that they don't even know they have a problem, and they see one of your ads where you're talking about a potential problem. They're like, oh, okay. But then since we put on, different ads, maybe they click on one ad and they don't submit their information, but maybe they see another one where you're talking specifically about how you help another homeowner, then they submit, right? So what we want is to have ads at those different stages of awareness. And within Facebook, it kind of retargets them where they know who you are, and they're going to keep on seeing you, over time. So since we are on Facebook, us business owners, so are the sellers. We just need to find the way of getting them. Now, of course, there's things with Facebook that I hate. Sometimes it works wonderful. Sometimes I hate it. Just with any other marketing channel, it has its flaws. But for the time spent and logistics and moving parts that we need to put in, I really love the results that we get out of it.
That's good. Recently, well, I don't know how recent, but I work with a lot of wholesalers who do meta, and me and my brothers, we run accountability reports with our clients. So we pretty much jump on with them 15 minutes. We say, hey, this is what your business looks like in terms of the data side. This is how many calls you guys are making. This is how many times you guys are changing the stages. This is how many revived leads came from our campaigns, X, Y, and Z. And what we're seeing is the teams that are doing meta ads, they're having trouble catching traction from the recent change that happened on how ads are ran. It's called the Andromeda, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the most simple terms, can you explain that to me and everyone listening? Because like I've had multiple agency guys explain it to me, and I'm still confused because everyone explains it a little bit different.
Yeah. So if I could just sum it up, what the Andromeda update wants, they want to make it easier for the user to go on the platform and run ads, right? Depending on what the objective is for the campaign. Now you have awareness, traffic, if you're making like e-com and stuff. For us, the only thing we care about is leads. So before, the way that you would segment the campaigns, you would have to have different ad set. And then you have a campaign, you have an ad set, and then you have the ad. So the ad set is going to be everything with the targeting, demographic, inclusions, exclusions, interests. So the way that we used to run ads before is we would segment each different ad set between like location, maybe excluding some interest, stuff like that. And then the way that we would set up the campaign, we would have separate ad sets between images and videos, and that's how we would kind of test and see exactly what's working. But now the way that the Andromeda update works, what Facebook wants is for you to have different creatives, like different ads within the campaigns that you are running that are very different. Because if you know anything about running ads, like Hermosi talks about, okay, the hook and then the value and then the call to action, where before you could record like 10 different hooks, you have the same value and the same call to action, and then you can make like 10 different ad variations by changing the hook and value and, call to action. But basically what it wants is for you to compile like the different static image ads, video ads, founder ads all together within the campaign so that it knows exactly who to serve the ad to. So to sum it up, you just put in more creative juice, like different sort of ad angles all compiled together within the campaign. And Facebook's job, they have been collecting our data for the last, 20 years. Their job is for us to be happy so that we keep on spending money with them. So in essence, they're trying to make it easier where we're letting the ad do the work, but they want different angles within the ads so they can serve it up to the people and the audience that they're most likely to respond to that ad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's what you're coaching, right? Okay. So if someone was running ads all of 2025 and they didn't even hear about it, or maybe they did hear about the Andromeda update, but they just kept their ads on because like, no, it's working. What do they need to do? Well, what are one or a few changes that they need to do with their current ad set?
Yeah.
You don't got to say it all, but just like, what are some prominent?
The number one thing why I think people don't get good results on Facebook is because they're running the most generic sell your house fast for cash that everyone has seen. So just an image, like you're not creating any like urgency or, you're not authentic. You have no brand building or anything. So that's why I was saying in the beginning, we focus on pain-based ads. That is a whole angle of our campaign, attracting people who are going through some sort of, like motivation. So that is step number one. And step number two, you can make data-driven decisions. How you guys do with your, CRM, everything is data-driven. So if you have already been running ads, the number one thing that we are going to do with a client, our main job is when we first help someone launch their ads, is for us to find out exactly what is the campaign structure and angles that are going to work best for that client's account. Because there can be two people in the same market and run the same ads, but the structure of the campaign can be different from one person to another. That's one of the things that I hate about Meta. Like it's not a cut through thing that you need to do A to C. We have kind of the best use cases or experience of how we run these. So we kind of take our learnings from how we have been doing in the past as our North Star. But all that to say is you can look into your ad account, see what are the ads that are working best. And then you can do the breakdown into, okay, how many leads you've gotten from this ad, which of the ad copies that you are using is giving the most clicks and submissions. The same thing with the headline. And then what we want is to find out, okay, which of the ads has given us the best amount of leads, which ad copy and which headline. So now, like once we find exactly what those angles and ads are, all we need to do is make more of those, right? And maybe in a different setting, maybe in a different video format, maybe in like a testimonial. So you want to be able to look back and see what's working, what worked, what's not working, and then cut the stuff that doesn't work and do more of the stuff that actually works.
And how are you supposed to make a seller actually feel when they see your ad? Are you trying to make them feel an emotion or any type of way? Or are you just trying to be very clear, or you trying to solve a problem while they're reading this?
You want to uncover the problem. And then what I tell everyone is you don't want the ad to look or feel like an ad. What I tell everyone is you want to be your local trusted home buyer advisor that's going to help you. So with all the ads, we'll do like selfie style videos, walking maybe in a property or in a neighborhood. But what we want is focus on the pain. Maybe they're going through divorce, foreclosure, maybe you inherit a property, you don't know what to do. Who you are, how do you help them? Think of Hermosa's value equation. What is the dream outcome? What is the perceived likelihood of achievement minus less time delayed and effort and sacrifice? So that is kind of like what we say when it comes to the value. So you have the hook, call out, value and call to action. So what you want within the ad is for it not to, feel like an ad. But as long as you focus, okay, who's this for? What is the hook, the value and the call to action? Those tend to work really well on videos.
Okay. Guys, look how much value I'm pulling out of Fidel. I'm asking too much. But guys, take notes. And also we'll put Fidel's links in the chat so you can follow him and learn more. But so I run a CRM company. We sell pretty much automations, AI, external AI tools and applications to direct seller wholesalers. And what we've seen starting January was everyone is trying to track their KPIs right now. Okay. I don't know what happened, but I think someone woke up and they said, oh my goodness, marketing is becoming so expensive. The budgets are only going up. I'm spending more money and getting less deals. I need to figure out where my money is going and what are like my conversion points. What is my cost per lead, cost per contract, cost per deal? What are my lead to net lead ratio, net lead to offer ratio, offer to contract ratio, etc. Everyone is asking for this right now. And I've worked with 200 plus teams on closing control. There's like 180 plus active teams using it. And dude, I'm telling you, like 15% reached out in the first 30 days of January. I don't have like an actual reason why, but I do want to jump into this in terms of like what's important to track. But what do you think is happening? Why do you think everyone wants to track KPIs now?
I love that question. And then to give you a story, it took me 2.5 years to track my damn KPIs. But to answer your question, if you don't track your KPIs, you don't have a business. So something that I always say is like, you're hustling and you're not being a business owner. So what does a business owner actually do? They track their KPIs, they have a plan, they know exactly what to focus on. And the hustler just trying to chase deal after deal. And that was me in the beginning. You're like, hey, I'm too good to be tracking these numbers. I'm the rainmaker, I make the revenue. But to answer your question, I think what has happened is wholesaling and real estate has gotten harder. You see the way that the market is, the economy, the interest rates. So a lot of people get exposed, right? And the only way that you know where you're going is if you track what's working and not working. And you want to have a plan to know like what you need to do on a weekly basis and monthly basis, assuming you have the capital and the budget to go and chase after your goal. The main things that I take a look at is, okay, what is the gross lead? What is the net lead? What is the appointment? What is the appointment completed? And then offers and contract. And what we're seeing with Meta is probably like 50% of the leads that you get are going to be qualified and ready to sell. So the way that we qualify a lead is, are they urgent? And then is there some sort of motivation, right? If we have those two things, our qualified lead, and we want, so from those like 50%, of course, we want to give out an offer to at least 80% from those leads. And we want to be in one contract for every 3 to 4 offers that we give. If it's in person, 1 in 3, it's good. And then over the phone, 1 in 5 to 6 is okay. Anything above that, you're probably missing something within your sales process. Maybe you don't have a sales process. Maybe you are not setting the proper expectations. Maybe you are not uncovering potential influencers, roadblocks, discomfort, money. What is their future state, right? So a lot of the misconceptions that I had in the beginning, when it came to sales process, I would think like, hey, you either have it or you don't. But as you start learning about sales, you realize that you can follow a process, and then you get to know exactly what the seller psychology is. And you find out, like, as long as you ask the most amount of questions, that person tends to win. So a lot of people don't have a sales process, but just know that if you know what to ask, when to ask it, why, then you become way more dangerous. And you don't have to be like this salesy person. It's just like you're asking the right questions and framing your offer as a solution to the things that they're going. So the main things I track is going to be the net lead to appointment ratio and offer to contract.
Yep. That's very accurate. So you named out some conversions. Is that industry benchmark for meta ads, or is that industry benchmark for all marketing channels?
That is more so what I see on Meta. Grossly to net lead, we're probably going to be at like 65%, maybe 10-15% will be out of area, or maybe a house you don't want, or like a junk lead. And then you're going to get a small percentage that are, they're just like curious and not ready to sell right now. And then the rest, they do want to sell. There's something going on. Maybe their timeline doesn't align with you. But that's why I say the most important thing is like, what is the angle that we're trying to convey here? But if we focus on the things that tell us that they're a motivated seller, and that is all kind of like what we do, then that's why we kind of get high quality leads for cheap. Now, my cost per lead on average is like $30. And we have clients in California, Arkansas, Boston, like everywhere across like 30 clients. The average cost per lead is $61 as of last Friday. And the average leads to contract ratio is 23 leads to a contract.
Wow.
Yep.
Solid.
Yeah.
That is really solid. Okay. That's good. I mean, yeah. So it's so important to to run your KPIs, or at least know those conversion points. And I feel like it's sad because I feel like when I was in my first few years of business, I would lie about that. And I'm just curious how many wholesalers out there are actually lying about their KPIs. They think it's that. Maybe they're not lying, but like they're not taking the time to actually know the actual number, and they're kind of just estimating, hey, we're probably at this.
Yeah. So to tell you a funny story, so one of my clients, his name's Eduardo. He is about to hit his first $100,000 month. We've been working together for like 4 or 5 months. And right now he has like, I don't know, 16 properties on the contract for this month, which is insane. So I was asking him like, hey, what do you think is the main thing that you changed? He's like, okay, number one, tracking my KPIs because I was not tracking it. Number two, really digging into the sales process, how you taught me, training the team, holding the weekly KPIs. And then three, I feel like you become a different version of yourself once you understand the game that you're playing. Because the reason why I think a lot of wholesalers don't track their KPIs is because they don't understand the game that they're playing, where every marketing channel can get reverse engineered somewhat, right? And then I'm not one of these gurus that's going to tell you like, hey, you can get into this with no money. No, you need money to make this business successful. Like it's a lot of expenses. But if you know that you need to spend 5K a month to make 30, 40K a month, I mean, now you have the expectation of what that would look like on the back end when it comes to leads, to appointments, to offers. And then to add more to that is sometimes you got to hate where you are in order for you to make a change. So if you have been trying to do it your way and you're not getting results, it's probably because you don't know what to do. So for me, the reason why I started tracking is like, hey, like I got tired of being in my position or not getting the results that I wanted. And that's what made me track my KPIs. And it took me 4 hours for like 3 years worth of data to track that. So you gotta be willing to kill your old self in order to kind of take it more serious. But yeah, it's super important for you to track that.
I agree. Are you doing anything in terms of taking that data that you guys have, whatever conversion points, cost per whatever metric, are you bringing that to AI in any way to help you
Uh,
guys make decisions?
we're not. So like my thing with AI is it's a very people driven business.
Mhm.
Because if we can fundamentally, whenever we're talking to homeowners, then selling their property may be the most important decision that they will make, right? And that's why like we need a lot of touch points, right? I think AI is great to like follow up, text messages, stuff like that. But when it comes to talking to an actual human, I think it's very important to for your team to kind of do that, right? Now, maybe in a few months, we'll have an AI that can call them and close them for you. But I don't think it's there just yet. I know I've been hearing about some stuff that is actually getting really good. Um, and when it comes to the AI and the conversions and kind of tracking it, all that, we do it manually. It takes like 3 minutes for us. So the way that we do is we have a weekly meeting on Monday. We go over last week's data, how many leads we got, how many appointments, how many offers, how many contracts, what do we have working? Is there anyone that rejected the offer that we can jump on and try to rescue a deal? And every day with my team, any appointment that my lead managers pass on in the morning meeting, we're going to go over what that looked like, what the last appointments looked like, what happened, what was the result, and then the closers give us a report on what happened with each of the appointments, so that we don't miss any leads,
Yep.
because appointment schedule to appointment completed is very important. And something that we were missing was the timeliness between that appointment was scheduled and actually completed. Because what we don't want is for the offers to kind of jump onto the following week. We want it to stay within that week. That way we track the numbers better. But you won't know unless you track those things.
I'm gonna add that in. So you're saying net lead to appointment first, and then appointment to attended appointments, attended
Completed.
offers.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. Um, okay, I think yeah. I had a different. My question was like a little bit different. You answered it
Oh,
differently, but I want to add into that. I think when AI is like doing the actual sales process, I think conversion points are gonna they're gonna be skewed for sure, and it's gonna become way more of a numbers game.
yep.
um, which I don't like. But what I was curious is like taking your data, your historical data. Let's say you have 6 months of like your cost per whatever metric, and you see the growth; it's going up and to the right. Are you grabbing that data, putting it into AI, and simulating? So that's what something that we're teaching our teams to do. Let's gather all your data, all your historical data, and we're gonna challenge and ask AI questions and to base its answers off your data, not based off of
Mm,
not based
nice.
off of industry benchmarks, your data, and play simulations with it. Hey, what happens if I increase ad spend in Meta for 2K? What if I what if our offer to contract ratio just goes up by 5% over 3 months? What happens? I think you can really play to that, Fidel. It could just be like an extra thing that you guys are like playing internally. And then when you're like,
Yeah.
this is a really good question to ask, bring it to your teams. It
Yeah.
works for us.
I like that. Um, I do like that. I just think
Because
like
it's simulate.
with wholesaling, the thing that I don't like as much is like there's things that you can't control,
Yep.
where, like one of the things that I see is like, you see those guys that go on skyscrapers and then they cross each building through like a line, and then they're like, kind of tumbling across.
Yes.
And, it's crazy. I feel like wholesaling, that's what it feels like, because you need to be very good at sales with appointments that you go on, right? And then you need to be very good at marketing, and then very good at dispo, and then your cash flow, managing your cash. So like you got to be really good at each of those areas. And I think that is the reason why there's only a handful and a small percentage of operators who actually scale to 100K a month and
Right.
make this successful, because most people find that it's way harder than they think, because you need to be good at all points of the sale. And then with real estate, you depend on a lot of outside factors, right? Like, the buyers, the agents, the title companies, the inspectors, appraisers, and you just got to be really good at multiple things. So I do like that model as far as projecting. And then if you can bring it together where you can have it in actionable, like daily things that you can take a look at and then compare it, like that way you actually have your hand in each of the different, like not systems, but you know things that are required for you to keep on getting deals and making the revenue. I think that sounds good.
That's interesting. You're so right. There's you can literally think you're gonna have an $80,000 month, and then one day you can drop it to 5K.
Yeah, yeah, that's more so kind of why I say it, because like there's a lot of variables that are like involved, and if you've been doing this for a while, you know that deals can fall, like,
Yeah.
like you think you're gonna make 50K and freaking sellers change their mind, and now they're talking to an agent and now they don't want to sell, or maybe a lien came up with the title, or the buyer talked to the seller and they spooked them even though you told them like what you were doing. So there's like a lot of variables that we have to control, that are outside of our control, that have a direct input in how that actually comes back as revenue. So I think it's good is if you have it as a plan, but then you need to focus every day on making sure that each, like acquisition, dispo, numbers, team,
Yeah.
managing the team, training the team, like everything kind of like, kind of works together for both to be kind of like in tune.
I agree. What a great conversation. What a great conversation. Thank you, Fidel. My last question for you. This is going to close us out, and I'm going to limit you. You can't say meta ads, and you can't say sales. No meta ads, no sales. If someone wants to get more deals right now with their current marketing channels, they have 3 months. What's one skill they need to acquire right now?
Talking to people, knowing how to talk to people, because fundamentally, getting deals, it's not as hard as people make it seem. Now, you've kind of heard me kind of say this over and over again, but if people have a problem and we genuinely care and we one thing we can help them and we have the resources to help them, whoever cares the most for that person is going to get that deal. And what I tell all the clients is like now, when it comes to kind of going through the appointment, it has it has to be all about them because we have to earn the deal, right? And then if you care, you're gonna ask more questions. You're gonna ask follow-up questions. You're gonna ask what happens if that doesn't happen, right? You ask like what needs to happen in order for them to actually sell. Um, and then therefore, if you do everything right, it's going to put you closer to you solving a problem and getting a deal. So my answer would be learning how to talk to people and genuinely kind of caring for them so that they can help them kind of move forward. Because in the end, we are solving problems. That's what we get paid, our 15, 20, 30, 50, 100K deals.
What's your
So
average? What's your average talk time in
our
terms?
average talk time is like 32 minutes or so on the appointment call. Yeah.
That's solid.
That's
I think
something that we had to change within the sales team. Now, I think as you scale, managing the sales team or like hiring salespeople is one of the hardest things that you can do within the business because they tend to get in their own way and they
yeah.
start blaming the leads or they stop showing up how they are supposed to. So you got to be able to still hold them accountable and coach them, but you don't want to babysit. And you want people that can actually produce and kind of manage the team where they are getting the results. I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, I feel like after you start getting your first couple deals and you start hiring, that's going to be kind of like the hardest part. Because if you have great people, you're going to buy a lot of your time back and keep on getting the momentum and the results without you being the main bottleneck.
Interesting. Cool. So you said 32 minutes average talk time on appointments. I assume it's less on any other call.
Yeah. So we have the intro call where we qualify. That's like 5 to 8 minutes. The way we do it, the way that we do it that way is because we don't want the lead manager to build more rapport than the closer, and we want
Right.
to give the closer kind of like enough like hype up, so that they can build that rapport and talk about what has been going on and build a rapport with him, so that whenever they're negotiating, we can focus on kind of solving the problem.
Excellent. Do you have anything else you want to share before we finalize this?
Well, you can follow me on YouTube and Instagram. I post a lot of things there. And like if you want to learn it, send me a DM. But if you are using an agency or a pay-per lead company, I think there's better ways. And then just try it out and see how it goes.
Wonderful. Fidel, thank you so much. Guys, if you made it this far, thank you for spending time with us. If you got value from it, save it, like it, comment. This is going to be repurposed all over, so you're probably going to see it. Also, send it to a friend if you think they could get value it as well. Fidel, thank you so much. What a wonderful conversation. Hope I got all the questions that I needed to get out of you. And yes, guys, have a good night. God bless.
Thank you.
Take care.